Welcome to today's episode of Heard and Seen Around. I am Rajesh Karipurath. This is my take on macroeconomic and geoeconomic data points which I find interesting. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed curating it. Cheers.
I don't believe in pressure. Pressure is when you're trying to save your mortgage. Ian Botham. Reality is just a crutch for people who can't cope with drugs. Robin Williams. Forecasts may tell you a great deal about the forecaster, they tell you nothing about the future. If you put the government in charge of the Sahara Desert, there'd be a shortage of sand in 5 years. Truth is like poetry. Most people hate poetry.
Forget geography. The real dividing line in global markets is AI. Global equities gained 10.6% in the first half of 2026. But the biggest winners were the countries building the brains behind artificial intelligence. South Korea surged 79.6%, Taiwan jumped 58.4%, and the Netherlands gained 24.9%, all powered by semiconductor demand. The US rose 11.9%, while India fell 4.3%, alongside France and Germany. This rally isn't rewarding everyone equally, it's rewarding those selling the picks and shovels for the AI gold rush. Right now, silicon is proving to be more valuable than silver. The next geopolitical battle may not be over oil, it will be over minerals. DR Congo produces 76% of the world's cobalt, Indonesia supplies 60% of nickel, while China controls nearly 70% of rare earth production and an even bigger share of refining. Chile accounts for 23% of global copper, and Australia leads lithium with 37%. Here's the catch. The West doesn't lack mineral reserves, it lacks control over mining, processing and supply chains. That's why industrial policy is back, friendshoring is accelerating, and critical minerals are becoming strategic assets. In the next decade, the biggest commodity may not be the one you burn, but the one you dig. The numbers are hard to ignore. The TRUMP meme coin has fallen about 98% from its January 2025 peak, while the MELANIA coin is down roughly 99%. At the same time, reports estimate the Trump family's crypto ventures generated around $1.4 billion for them. Supporters argue that these are voluntary market investments, while critics say they raise serious ethical and conflict of interest questions for a sitting president. Whatever your politics, one lesson remains timeless. In the world of meme coins, hype often has a much longer lifespan than investor profits. As always in speculative markets, someone is buying the dream while someone else is cashing the check. Sometimes markets have a long memory and an even longer grudge. A few years ago, Indian banks were weighed down by bad loans, weak balance sheets and sluggish growth. Today the story looks very different. Asset quality has improved, credit growth has returned, and profitability is far stronger. Yet the Nifty Financial Services Index trades at a price-to-book ratio of just 2.3x, well below its long-term average of 2.9x. It seems investors are still pricing yesterday's problems, even as the sector writes a very different chapter. Occasionally, the market updates earnings faster than it updates opinions. India often gets compared with richer welfare states, but there's one crucial difference. You can't spend what you don't collect. India's social protection spending is just 4% of GDP, well below Brazil's 17% and the 8.5% average for upper middle income economies. The reason is simple. India's tax-to-GDP ratio is only about 17%, leaving far less room for large welfare programs. As the economy grows, so will expectations for better pensions, unemployment support and social security. But unless tax collections rise meaningfully, expanding the safety net will remain easier to promise than to finance. In economics, every rupee spent first has to be earned. India's household debt is rising, but not for the reason you might think. Household debt has climbed to 45.5% of GDP, still modest compared with many emerging economies, where Thailand stands at 87% and Malaysia at nearly 70%. But the real story is changing borrowing habits. Non-housing retail loans now account for almost 58% of household credit, and they have grown nearly 3.8 times since 2019, far outpacing housing loans. That means more borrowing for personal loans, credit cards and consumer spending rather than building long-term assets. It's good for short-term consumption, but if incomes don't keep pace, today's shopping spree can become tomorrow's repayment headache.